Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm working on my recap for this Sunday, February the 16th, 2025. And of course, I'm preparing this on the Saturday morning. I gotta tell you, it's 4:30 in the morning. I'm not a great sleeper. And my wife is resting, sleeping. I have my cappuccino. It's all quiet. I'm in my basement studios. And, you know, I was thinking that there is nowhere that I would want to be right now than behind this desk, looking at this camera and sharing with you my fountain pen therapy. There's nothing else, I think, that takes away that daily grind and the stress of the daily grind. I had a great week, but a very exhausting week. So, which is okay. It's part of the course, right? It's part of the course. Productive and satisfying, but exhausting. But let me tell you, this morning, I've got a bunch of things to share with you. And, you know, it gets you to think about what this channel is all about. And I was watching Hemingway Jones this week and on his live show. And, you know, he's kind of taken a little bit of a turn in terms of his own channel. He's producing these wonderful documentary-like reviews, you know, where a lot of background and not just the pen. You know, it's a little more. It's about a little more than just a pen for him. And, you know, he's a talented man, very articulate, and that's where he's headed, you know, and which is fine. I think we need some variety. And of course he's saying, you know, that he's bored with, you know, simple pen reviews where you look at the measurements and the pens, and I do some of that. I think there's still you know, demand for that. I think if we're in the fountain pen community, it's because at the end of the day, we got to look at these pens and judge them and appreciate them. And if you're thinking about purchasing or adding to your collection, you need to know what they're all about. So I think there's definitely, they may be boring, they may not be, you know, Academy Award documentary-like, but I think they're necessary. Of course, I do that as well, and I think I enjoy doing it. This recap, I think, is meant to do a little more than that. It's meant to share with you everything that I'm passionate about, be it ink, paper, or pens. I try to introduce some variety there so that you can appreciate. But I think my focus is really on trying to provide you with information, entertain you, and at the same time, hopefully somewhere in this long video, you'll be able to say, well, you know what? I really want that ink, or I really want that paper, or you know what? Now I know a little more about that pen. I think that's what it's all about. I'm not here to sell you the ink. I'm not here to sell you the paper, and I'm not here to sell you the pen, as Hemingway Jones says. I'm just here to share with you my passion for this hobby. And after that long introduction, without any further ado, here is my weekly recap for February the 16th, 2025. Okay, so we're back. We're going to start with the first segment as usual. We're going to take a look at what's new in the market and see if there's anything worthwhile mentioned. I think it's slow. It's still, well, we're approaching the end of February, but I think these are the slow months because I haven't found anything earth-shattering out there. In terms of Chinese pens, there's nothing. It's a little quiet right now. I do want to mention the fact that I will be ordering this Ongdian Brass M2 that I see the picture I'm putting up. I think it's a beautiful pen. And I know that this week there have been 2 reviews, one by Chris Rapp and one by my French friend Fontaine de Plume, who you reviewed. Both of them review this M2 Brass. And they have some very interesting and positive comments to make. You may be interested in those reviews. I know that as soon as I get my M2 Brass, I will be comparing it to the other M2s I have in my collection, and we'll take a closer look at it. So I want you to know that that's in the pipeline. As well, the Shanghai Knife Dude, and I'll put up some pictures here, talks about a possible improved P139 in 2025. He felt that when he tested that pen back in 2024, they had 2 problems with it. And let me go to my overhead camera. He suggested that, first of all, the ink hole is too high up in this pen. So it means you've got to dip the pen too much into the ink bottle to pull up the ink. He believes that the pens that are better made have the ink hole a little bit higher up. So all you need to do is put the pen as far as your breather hole, and it should, be enough. So he feels very strongly about that. He also mentioned that the original nib in his 2024 pen was stiff as a nail. Nothing, and it was smooth, but there was no variation. Wasn't a special nib at all. But he feels that the brand new 2025 pen version that he's ordered has a spring to it. Take a look at this shot where he shows the spring. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you mine, because I'm thinking about buying it, but I'm not sure whether or not I'll get one, or is it just, hit and miss? This is the one I have right now. I don't believe it flexes as much as his new version. You'll see, I'm going to try to put pictures one side by side here. It is a nice nib. I mean, I haven't written with this pen in ages, and it's just writing. But I don't think it has a little bounce because it's just a big nib, but not like what he's showing in that picture. So I may very well purchase a new P139. Maybe I'll reach out to him and try to ask him, if you're looking at this video, watching, Shanghai, can you send me where you bought that nib, that 2025 version? So I know which vendor to buy it from, because I could be buying old stock, I won't know. Otherwise, I'll go to my, regular, which is 365 days stationary, I believe they're called. They're probably the more reputable ones on AliExpress. So there you have, in terms of the Chinese pen market, that's really it for me. What else have I got for you? Santini Italia has got a weekend special. Here's a picture. Go on their site. There may be some pens. If you're, been looking at wanting to purchase Santini pens, beautiful pens. And they've got their own in-house nibs. They got those flexi nibs. Really, really nice. Well recommended. And, well priced for, well-built Italian pens. You can get resins. You can get faceted pens, number 6 nibs, number 8 nibs. You can get ebonite pens. There's all kinds of offerings. Well recommended. Next, Pen Chalet. Well, you got this new, I I guess, exclusive métier from Joya. I love Joya pens, as you know. And they've kind of teamed up with Dominant Industry. So you got a set for you. You got the pen, you got the notebook, and you got the ink. It might be interesting for some of you. I think that notebook is really for artists. But take a look at that. That might be a good set. If not, take a look at the métier pen. And maybe not this one, just the métier Joya pen. They're very well priced and excellent, excellent pens. Pen Chalet's also got the, and they all do, I think. Most of the retailers have the new TWSBI Echo Espresso. Beautiful pen, those little TWSBIs. I've got the blue version, the brand new blue with the rose gold finish. Very, very nice. And we've got Atlas Stationers that's got this beautiful Delta pen. Expensive, but man, take a look at this. This is just gorgeous. I got to, Delta is one of my favorites. I'm going to see if I'm going to take a dive for that pen. Or maybe wait for a little while when the price is kind of, dimmed down a little bit, because at $800, $900, expensive. But beautiful, beautiful pen. And then Goulet Pens has three new, that Goulet likes Noodler's ink. So you've got three new Noodler's inks to propose here, as you see them right here, different colors. So if you're interested in Noodler's inks and their ink bottles and their, lots of milliliters in those bottles, well, there you have it. That's that kind of wraps up what's new in the market, folks. So stay tuned, and we'll take a look at this next segment, which is, what have we got going for us in the Fountain Pen Studios? Be right back. Okay, we're back. I want to show you the pens that I kind of played around with this week, both at the office and in my studios, doodle around with several pens. And I wanted to show you which ones those were. So for this week, let me just go to my overhead camera. Here they are. First of all, my Asvines are always in the picture. Now, I know you guys may be fed up of, this ongoing saga. But you remember, I believe in the last recap, that I kind of found a solution, that wondering if it would work or not, for how we seal this section of this cap with, you unscrew this section and use plumbing sealing tape around the threads, and just rescrew everything down, and it appears to have worked. And I wanted to show you if indeed I haven't used this pen. I've tested this pen throughout the week, every 2 days, and so far so good. This is the Asvine C2000. This is the medium nib. As you can see, no drying here. So it kind of passed the test. Let's see if this one passed the test. This is the red-blue. This is the Asvine. Oh yeah, look at this. I mean, nice and thick. This is the 1.1 stub. As you can see, no issues whatsoever. So this seal worked. That was the red-blue. This is the red. Again, another 1.1 stub. Again, no issues. This light green version never really had the problem, so I didn't have to seal it. It was good right from the get-go. Let's just see if it... no, that was me. This is the fine. So, a little bit of drying on this one. Just a little bit. I feel there's a little too much scratch there. But we'll keep an eye on it, because maybe I will do the same thing on them. And this brings me to deal with You'll remember that I introduced this contraption to my reviews, which it's ShackMD that got me to even learn about the existence of this thing. It's a fog machine. So you turn it on and you put it in your, for those of you who haven't seen my videos, you put it in the cap, throw in some fog, and see if there's any leaks. And one reviewer mentioned to me that I'm not really, it's not fair because I'm putting pressure, and that pressure kind of falsifies the test because it doesn't really mimic, real conditions. You don't have that kind of pressure coming into the cap. So I reached out to Doodlebud and I said, how come you're not reviewing these pens yet? Usually he gets them from either Asvine directly. And I guess these pens don't really appeal to him, the wooden, But he, and I asked him about the test and whether or not, it's a valid test. And he said, absolutely valid test. You can deal with the air test. He calls it the air test. I don't know how he does it, but he has a video on it. Or, dip it in water and see if any bubbles come out anywhere. But he said, yeah, testing is meant to be under that kind of conditions. In other words, when you do the testing, even if the testing is a little more rigorous than real life, because real life is just sitting there, right? There's nothing pressure. It's just whatever air penetrates here slowly, as opposed to, just shooting air into it. But he says, no, the purpose of a test is to put it to the grind and see how it reacts. And if it reacts well to, this kind of test, and he said, there's not that much pressure with this fog machine. We can't exaggerate either. If it survives that test, then your pen seals properly. And he says, check it, test it with pens that do seal properly and see. And I got to tell you, my Pilot pens, the testing is perfect. There's no leaks anywhere. And that's why those pens, you pick them up and have no problem. My Mont Blanc, the same thing. So there you have it. Whereas my beautiful Conway Stewart does leak there. And we'll see if this pen dried up on me during the week. Oh, you see, it's not perfect. See? Yeah, dried up. Beautiful nib, beautiful pen. Got to find a solution for that. And, one of the solutions that was suggested by ShackMD for this pen was this product, which is a plastic dip. It's a flexible protective rubber coating. So what he said you should do, and of course you got to put on a mask and everything because it could be toxic, and you got to do this in a very ventilated place, but shake it up and just a couple of sprays in, and it will kind of form a plastic or protective rubber coating, which ends up sealing whatever's in there. I'm afraid to see what kind of a mess I make. And I mean, this is a cheap pen, $38, $40. This is an expensive Grail pen. I don't want to ruin that pen. So I'm not sure that but what I think I'm going to do is take one of these very, very cheap JINHAO kind of demonstrators that I have. I have a bunch of them. And kind of test it with the demonstrator just to see how this thing coats and where does it go and how does it react. Am I going to use it on expensive pens? Probably not. Some people have suggested that I go in and with a Q-tip and a little bit of glue, and then others have suggested that the glue is going to emit some gases that might ruin the nib. So at the end of the day, pens like this one, a little more vintage, which leak, you're just going to have to live with them, And like I said in my last video, you kind of prime it a little bit, just a little. So for example, what I would do here is either dip it in water or kind of just give it a little push. Let it come out a little bit on a Kleenex. And there you have it. The pen's working. Now you do lose a little bit of ink, but I mean the beauty of this nib, you know, it's got even a little bit of a bounce to it, is not going to make me not like this pen. So there you have that. What else have I got this week? I've been using this Mahjong C5, and look at this. No leaking, no burping again. I mentioned it again. This is just a beautiful pen, folks. This Mahjong, very comfortable. Look at that. C5. I can't stress how nice a pen. Now, you know, we tested these Asvines, and I know Hemingway Jones mentioned that. Oh, and you got Vincenzo testing the pen, and I'm not sure he was making fun of me or not, or he was saying at least, you know, he's not, because he was talking about rumors and how rumors can ruin a pen. You know, Twisby's crack, Visconti Homo sapiens, the nibs are awful, and he had, you know, great editorial on that, where he said sometimes we kind of push things along and we believe what we hear, and eventually, you know, enough people repeat it and it becomes reality. It's like a little bit like fake news, where I think he was mentioning at least Vincenzo tested it and had a personal experience. And but, you know, at the end of the day, he said, well, Vincenzo, you know, I have one solution. Don't buy the pen. You know, it's a $38 Chinese pen. Don't buy it at all. At least I won't buy it. And now even more reason not to buy it. I disagree, Hemingway. I think you're missing out. I think this pen, for $38, it's got a number 8 size nib, beautiful big feed, very smooth writing, very comfortable. I think you're missing out. And, you know, we can't all afford, you know, Conway Stewart's, right? That leak, by the way, or even Montegrappa's, you know, that I reviewed this week. I mean, this Montegrappa, I'm still, you know, so we can't afford the expensive pens, but, and you know, these Chinese pens, I mean, this Mahjong, I'm sorry, Hemingway, but this is a great little pen. It really, really is. This Montegrappa cost me, what, almost $400, or maybe a little less because I got a discount from Goldspot. I forget how much I ended up paying for it, but I think it's about 400 Canadian. It's a nice pen, don't get me wrong, but I noticed it too dries up on you after a little while. The nib is nice. I mean, the verdict's still out. It's a beautiful pen, but when you think about it, is it worth $400? You know, nice resin, nice branding, good construction. I'm happy with it because I got a discount. You know, Tom from Goldspot, you know, I reached out to him. I said, can I review the pen? And he said, well, it's a little more expensive, but I will give you a discount. He gave me a discount and I bought it. And this ends up being my first Montegrappa. I haven't given up on Montegrappa yet. As I mentioned to some of my viewers, you know, but I'm going to look for the deals. I'm not going to buy anything new. You know, I want to see what the gold nibs offer me. And if I can find a deal with a nice pen used, I think that's the route I'm going to go with Montegrappa. Otherwise, I'm going to end up buying these medium priced pens that at the end of the day, yes, they're medium priced for Montegrappa, but I think they're overpriced. You know, I prefer to spend a little more and get a Santini Italia with an in-house nib or a Scribo. You know, or even Leonardo Officina Italiana, you can probably get an equivalent pen. It's a steel nib, Yowo nib, for much less. Or even a Delta, Mayora, Joya, you know. So, or this Radius, which, by the way, we're going to be reviewing sometime soon. I'm not sure whether or not it's this week or next week. I've used it all week, by the way. Beautiful pen. I got to tell you, oh, dried up on me. There you go. You see? So even more expensive Italian pens dry up on you. Not only the Majon, not only the Asvines at $38. So I guess I got to see whether or not, let's do the testing. Well, there's no leak anywhere, so I don't know where the leak is coming from. There's no leak on that cap. So it's either coming from here, or maybe it's the ink. Maybe it's the ink. But there you go. Yeah, it may be the ink is not, there wasn't enough ink. No, there's no ink in the pen. That's why. Okay, there's very little ink going into the feed. So sorry about that. Okay, there you go. But okay, well, we'll take a closer look at this pen. I think it's a beautiful pen, but you know, I can buy this at $150. Don't have to spend $400. And you know, is it any cheaper or than the Montegrappa? I don't think so. I think it's an equivalent. I think they're affiliated with Leonardo Officina Italiana, so you know you're getting a good product. So, you know, should I really spend $400 on this or $150 on this one? You know, there you have it. Or even this Tebaldi. Now, Montegrappa had Tebaldi, but they let it go. And I don't understand why they let this brand go. This is a beautiful pen. We'll be reviewing it soon. I have several Tebaldi pens. And it's just unfortunate. I used it all week, a double broad. It's just unfortunate that Montegrappa has let this brand go. But look out for the specials. They're all over the place. These pens are being sold. You know, they're getting rid of the inventory. So if you like Tebaldi, nice Italian pen, beautiful resins, nice designs, go for it. So there you have that segment for the pens I was using this week. Give me a second. I got more to show you. Be right back. Okay. In this next segment, what I would like to explore with you is the following. I think I mentioned it last week or the week before. I ended up purchasing from Atlas Stationery's several ballpoint and rollerballs. The reason why I went for them, one, the prices were decent, and two, is that I find myself more and more, at least in the work setting, having to use either a ballpoint or a rollerball for all kinds of reasons, and pencils as well. So I believe that from now on in my weekly pen case, for example, let me just, this Esterbrook case I use often. I have others, where I put about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pens. Let me go to my overhead camera so you can take a look at it. It's either this one or I also use this one here. It's got fountain pen therapy on it, by the way. With another 6 pens. I've got a blue version. Or I've got the bigger version, which is this, which allows me a little more flexibility, and I can bring a lot of pens with me. This is usually when I'm on the road. But so I realized that, and what's this? Well, let me tell you, that I need to add to my weekly pen stash for the week, not only fountain pens, but I need to add at least one ballpoint, one rollerball, and one pencil. And then I said to myself, what do I have in my collection that's worthy of mention? And these are the 3 that I just bought from Atlas. So I've got the Avatar Peniter ballpoint. I have the what is it? Times? Tempe? Modern Times. Ballpoint from Pennyther as well, which is very nice, by the way. Love it. And I bought this little beautiful Pelican. I think this is a 400 rollerball. I know I'm going to be using these sometime soon, but I went back into my collection and I realized I have first of all, I have a Mont Blanc pencil and 09, because I have a tendency to push, so it's got to be at least a 0.7. 0.5 won't do it for me. I'll keep breaking the nibs, the pencil. So it's 09 in there, which is really nice. And I've got also this ballpoint. But, ballpoint, I think that you can change the refill and turn it into kind of a rollerball as well. So I have that as an option. I've got this beautiful Delta pen as well, which is is it a combination? I forget now. Oh, no, it serves as a USB if you want. How do I turn the pen, though? I forget. How do I get the pen out here? There must be a way. Just bear with me here. I have no idea how I get how am I supposed to get the pen out of there? There's got to be a way. I forget how. Anyway, I'll figure it out. But yeah, so I've got this one. There you go. It turns here. So that's the ballpoint. Very nice pen. This is a beautiful Montegrappa. And this is the Maya. And I'm looking to buy the fountain pen with the same name, but I'm going to buy it when it's used because otherwise it's too expensive. But it's got all silver section there. Again, it's a ballpoint or maybe even a rollerball, forget. So this is another option of mine. I've got this Ferrari branded pen. Then I have this Zippo, I think. What do they call this? Zoppini, an Italian ballpoint. This is an Acme ballpoint pen. Then I've got a set of Zoom. That's the pencil and that's the ballpoint. You've got these little, what do they call them? Euchers, which are a kind of it's a roller ball, but that you can fill in with the converter, which is convenient because then you can use all your inks. So you use it a little bit like a fountain pen, but it's a roller ball. I've got two of those. Or is it, this one's a roller ball or was it a ballpoint? Yeah, roller ball as well. And you can buy different nibs. So this is a 1.4, you can get a 1.1, so you can get a variety. So this is a good option. And their ink, by the way, is excellent. So I'm looking at that. I've got this other pen. I forget where I bought this, but it kind of serves as a flashlight. This is a plastic for your iPad. It's a ballpoint. This I used to use in the older days. It's kind of a combination. You got various colors. You click, you can get blue, you can get your pencil, you can get red, you can get black, and different points come out. Different points come out. So you just click on whichever you want, and you get a different color or a different, you can get a roller ball coming out of there, a pencil or a pen. Nice little, neat little product from Parker. So this is a Parker. I forget what this is. What make this is. It's probably Chinese. Yeah, probably Chinese. I think this looks like an imitation of a Mont Blanc. It's a pencil, though. Got this gorgeous pencil. This is a nice one. 0.9 spoke. Very, very nice. Modern looking. We've got this one where you can put really big nibs in this thing. Huge nib. Or not nibs, but pencils. So this is a nice one made out of brass. This is another Delta. Yeah, a Dolce Vita pen, and it's a pencil, as you can see there. So this is a Delta Dolce Vita, and those are the three I mentioned. I also wanted to show you this one. You remember I mentioned to you that I was so obsessed with stubs. So one day I tried to look for a pencil that writes with a stub, and I found one. Look at that. It's actually got a italic pencil stub refill. So this writes like a stub at the end of the day. Let me just show you. I haven't used this in a while, many years, in fact. But I remember I said there's got to be a pencil that's a stub. Let me just see if this works. Yeah, there you go. So it gives you that line variation, but with a pencil. So that, and of course this is, push it out. There's special leads, but nonetheless, there you have it. So this is a nice little pencil, 1.8 millimeters wide. So there you have it. Anyway, all to say that I will be in the next week testing all these pens, filling them up with either ink or cartridges or brand new refills, and then we'll do a rotation, and they're going to be included from now on in my stash for the week. I'll have one pencil, one rollerball, and one ballpoint, and do a rotation. And if I can find some more deals like this one, then I might just introduce them. Or this one. This was a beautiful purchase. I'm really happy with this one. If I can find that sort of deal, why not? So there you have it. Just to add some variety to the, and as Atlas stationers were saying, well, now you're no longer fountain pen therapy, you're fountain pen, your ballpoint therapy, or rollerball therapy, or pencil therapy. Why not? Why not? Add some variety to our writing experience, right? I know they won't rival with the fountain pen. I'm not going to be using them for long writing sessions. But, sometimes I'm in court and I'm taking notes, and fountain pens can be a little finicky. And, when the witness is testifying and you need to get the notes down, you can't be playing with your pens, right? And then if the ink dried, then you got to fill it up. And, so I realized that maybe in a court setting, use your pens, your fountain pens sparingly, and maybe a roller ball will work much better, or a ballpoint. So there you have it. But having said that, we're going to introduce that, I think, on a regular basis, and maybe even show things in this channel that are maybe worthy of mention. So there you have it. Some more variety for you folks from Fountain Pen Therapy. Stay tuned. Okay, pen haul. What pens came into the Fountain Pen Therapy studios this week? Well, I don't know. I've tried buying pens from auctions. I have Katowiki, and now I tried an auction by the name of North American Pen Auctions. I'll put it into my description in case you guys are interested. I thought they had a great variety. They have it like once a month, and it lasts 2 or 3 hours, and it goes through a bunch of pens. You have them all before, so you can wait for the pen you want to bid on, and you do some bidding on the spot. It's kind of an auction, like as if you were, in a hall with your, with your little sign, and you put up your sign and you bid, and then the winner, after a few seconds, they see if the bid goes up, etc., etc. And I always end up not reading the fine print on these auctions. So I ended up buying a kind of a slew of not a set, but, well, let me show you. These are kind of vintage fountain pens, company by the name of Wilson, I believe. Nothing, it's not Waterman or anything like that. And, you know, I paid $200 for, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pens. All gold nibs. You know, the condition is not bad, but, you know, I'm not an expert, so I can't tell. But they all appear to be in good functioning order, but I forgot to read the fine print. And the fine print said that the price you pay, you've got a premium of 25% for the auctioneer, you know, fees, I guess. So, and frankly, if I knew that it was going to cost me 25% more, I may not have bid or even for this lot. But at the end of the day, they're not bad. I mean, the condition is great. I mean, look, they all have what appear to be very good condition. Their sacks are. This one is missing the sack completely. But take a look at the nibs. It's really not bad. They're all gold. 3 out of the 4 are flexible. They look like they're in very decent condition. Now, I kind of washed these things out. Sorry, I'm going to ink all my... Because I tried to ink them and then realized that I should wash them first. And you know, can I remove these nibs? I still have to kind of experiment. I'm kind of brand new to this this sort of thing, so I got to be careful. This one's a nice flex nib. Let me tell you, I got to tell you, very nice. And they're all 14 karat gold nibs. I did test them by dipping them. They appeared to perform fairly well. The sacks look like they're brand new. Some of you that are experts, let me know. Are these sacks kind of what they should look like? By the way, when I opened up the pen, these sacks were all kind of twisted. And then the moment I removed them, they kind of just all went into position, so to speak. The levers appear to function fairly well as well. They all look like now, except that this body has a tendency to stain, which is something I got to be careful with. You see just a little bit of a dot there, and it kind of stains, and then I got to clean it up again. But look, I decided to buy this lot. I've washed them all up. I'm going to test them, just kind of learn, and maybe this will be give me an opportunity to install the first ink sac to see how it's done. I know Inquiring Minds shows us how to do these things, so I may well look at some of his videos, buy a little sac, and I don't think I can eyedropper this because it's just it's just sitting there, and there's not enough of a seal there to I may want to try it, but because it certainly would facilitate things. And that's one of the things about these vintage pens. I find that this sack mechanism is not my favorite, but I can tell you that those nibs, this is a big one. Look at that, take a look at that nib. Much bigger than the others, which is unusual for the time period, I think, because most of them were much smaller. Again, I tested this just by dipping it, and it appeared to be some very, very nice lines. So that's what I purchased. That's the first lot. The second pen I purchased from North American auctioneers. And again, I was a little bit disappointed. Let me just take this away. Is this Omas Extra. It's referred to as the 1994 D-Day, or 1944 to 1994. So it's the 50th anniversary of a D-Day. It is an extra. What I was disappointed about was about how used it is. You see that? Again, I didn't do my homework. So I was a little bit disappointed in the condition of that cap. But I got to tell you that the writing, the nib is Just fabulous. Let me just show you. It's a 14 karat Almas nib, as we are used to seeing them with the typical Almas, branding. And this is a medium nib, but it kind of almost writes like a broad. So this is the Almas 1944 94 D-Day Extra. Very nice, smooth nib. And you know, I paid this $200. Again, surprised with that other 25%, and then when you add the taxes, and there was no duties because it came from, I think it's an operation in Toronto, Canada. So for me, but there was sales tax. But I got to tell you, the pen is very smooth, and it's an Almas. Wet, very constant. I mean, I've inked this pen weeks ago. Well, weeks ago. I got it I bid for it 2 weeks. No, about 7 days. And it's you know, I haven't used it since, and it's very nice. Very nice. So that's another addition to my Almas pens. I didn't think it was going to be this, you know, from the picture it looked really nice. But again, I guess you got to do your homework. Even Katawiki, every time I buy the pen, I always have some regrets. But I figured just for that nib, it was worth the price. And maybe I'll just use the nib and put it in another pen eventually. We'll see. So there you have it. That's my pen haul for this week. Now those vintage pens, once I kind of clean them all up and ink them properly, then maybe next recap I'll kind of give you a writing sample with those pens. I just want to make sure they don't leak first, and kind of just doodle with them first, and then we can do an actual writing sample, and we can demonstrate what they look like maybe next week. There you have it. So that's in terms of the pen haul for this week. Now, I did order, as I mentioned, the M2 brass pen. So that's in the pipeline. And maybe there may be one other Chinese pen that I've ordered. I'm not sure if I pulled the trigger on it yet. That's kind of a little bit of a surprise. We'll let you know. But that's it for me for a while now. I'm waiting for Dieman, Mahjong, and JINHAO. Those 3 pens that my friend Shanghai Knife Dude has announced. Looks like they may be coming in March. And maybe I'll order that P139. I mentioned to you earlier the video from Shanghai Knife Dude. He talks about maybe a different version of the P139. We shall see. I'm not convinced, and you know, which vendor sells that new version, and is it really going to be different from what I showed you earlier? We shall see. But there you have it. So let's just wait for my next segment. Be right back. Okay, so we're back, and this is going to be the ink swatching segment. Okay, so what I've got planned for you is, you'll remember in my last recap, I believe it was in the last recap, I mentioned to you that I finally purchased some JINHAO inks. And, you know, as you know, I've purchased the Ongdian set, beautiful inks. The Mahjong Moonman inks, I think, are also very, very nice inks. And I figured I'd try these. I purchased 6 different colors in the JINHAO. And so we'll have an opportunity to test and try these out. Let me go over to my overhead camera. Here are the inks, and let me just make sure they're all nice and tightly. Okay, what have I got for you? Well, I've got some, some more of the popular colors. At least these are the 6 go-to colors that I try to get in almost every ink brand. You've got the blue, you've got the green, you've got the black, you've got the red, the purple or violet, and you've got the brown. These 3 we will do next week, so we'll take these out of the way right away. And what I propose today is that we take a look at these, the blue, the green, and the black. So that's the ink that we're going to be swatching. Of course, as you know, the swatching will be done with this folded pen. A lot of you ask me, where can I get this folded pen? It used to be at a stationery store in Toronto, but I believe they stopped making them. What I suggest is you just Google folded pen, and you'll see you're going to be referred to a stationery or art supply store that sells these things. Various shapes. Some of them are, they're bigger. Some of them are smaller. I like to use this in-between version. Why I prefer this over the Q-tip or the brush is it kind of mimics, the metal, the ink on metal on paper a little better than I find than a Q-tip or a paintbrush. And of course, we identify the inks on the paper with this dip pen, which is quite, it's almost like a 1.5 or a 2. So a nice thick line just to see how the colors come out on paper. Speaking about paper, rather than just do swatching on one, I think that from now on, I'm going to try to bring some variety to you. And rather than simply swatch the inks on my favorite Tomoe River paper, this is the Tomoe River Notepad Nanami paper. You can look it up. Very inexpensive. I think you get 100 sheets for like $10. Very nice notebook. This is 52 GSM, and it is the original Tomoe River. Today I'm going to offer swatching and writing samples on this Noble Life. Very popular, decently priced. So we're going to take a look at this Noble notebook, and this is the Fabriano paper. So we will be swatching on all 3 papers, and in addition to that, we're going to do some writing on these papers with those inks. And the pens I've got for you is the black ink will be in this Vizier checkered model. This is a medium nib, steel medium nib. So the black is in that pen. The blue is in this Diplomat. This is also a medium. By the way, these Diplomat nibs, yes, they're Yowo nibs, but they do something special to them. Over and above the branding, I think they kind of tuned them to their own taste, if you will. Beautiful nibs. So the blue will be in this pen. And the green will be in this Bexley Posthumus or something like that. I can never pronounce it. Beautiful pen, by the way. And here I've got a 1.5 stub. So again, a Yowo steel. So there you have the pens. There you have the paper. There you have the inks. So give me a second. We're going to just set it all up and start the swatching. Okay, so we're back. We'll start with the black. Okay, so this is the Tomoe River. This is the Life notebook. And this is the Fabriano. You can tell right away that the Fabriano has a little more tooth. And I think the ink is going to dry up much quicker on this Fabriano paper than it will on the other 2. It's just my feeling, but we will see how all that unfolds. So let's identify these inks on these swatches. So this is the JINHAO. Very wet, I can tell you, and very, very not a fussy ink, and very lubricated. Slide over here. Yeah, you could tell the Fabriano has a little more tooth, much more. So, which is okay because, you know, I like Tomoe River just because it's kind of a paper that brings the writing experience just to a different level. But, you know, some people like that tooth when they write. And, you know, Midori offers that. You know, whereas Clairefontaine, Merriman, even Rhodia is kind of a coated paper, so you kind of get that kind of a slippery writing experience that I don't always enjoy, I got to tell you. Whereas I think Tomoe gives me a kind of an in-between. Let's do some writing. Let's just see how it performs with an actual pen. So very nice. I think it's a nice black. Very, very lubricated. Yeah, very nice on this Tomoe River anyway. Let's do this on the Life. Just a slight little more tooth. Very nice. And on this Fabriano, yeah. I think you can hear it. So far, so good. There we have the black. Okay, let's do blue next. This looks like it's going to be kind of a royal bluish. That's at least from just the opening the bottle. Yeah, very much so. Very nice. Very nice saturated, straight up blue. Now, what I don't know is whether these inks will give us any kind of shading or sheen. I suspect they won't. I suspect that these are just kind of standard, straight up inks, but maybe they will surprise us. We shall see when these writing samples are all nice and dry. And we'll take a look at how the paper performs with these inks once we've completed the swatching. Okay, so for the blue, I have this beautiful Diplomat pen. Well, first of all, yeah, forgot to just get that big dip pen to do its job. just going to get a little more ink here. I think it's a nice combination of papers that I'm offering you. This is the smoothest, this is a little more toothy, and this one is even more toothy. So you've got a good variety, I would say to you. All very nice papers so far. I'm very, very much pleased. Okay, so now we can do the pen. Again, this is a medium. As you can see, you can hardly hear the pen. Very smooth. Nice blue. Very nice blue. Slightly more tooth on the life. Yeah, and even more on this Fabriano. And you can tell that the ink dries much quicker on this Fabriano. Less on this Life and even less on this Tomoe River. So very good variety, I would say to you. So that's blue. Now let's take a look at this green. From the looks of it, I've opened this bottle. It doesn't appear to be a kind of a dark green. It looks like, but we shall see, like it's more of a lighter green. Which is a nice change because most of my green inks are kind of darkish. Oh yeah, yeah, it gives you a kind of a lighter, true green. You see how this folded pen kind of, you know, I think it mirrors much better the pen metal than paintbrush or a Q-tip. At least that's my feeling. I could be wrong, but that's the way I like to do my ink swatches. Okay, so that's, we can just get my dip pen here to identify the ink. No fancy names. They're known JINHAO green, or put it this way, that's the label anyway. Does it have anything else in Chinese? If it does, I wouldn't be able to read it anyway, but on the label, at least with these inks that I purchased, I believe I purchased these either on AliExpress or Amazon. I forget which. Okay, we can put the bottle aside before I spill it. And let's do some writing. Very nice green. Funny how it appears to have a different color when it's a kind of a thinner line than with this thick line. It brings up more the darker side of this ink, I would say to you. This is kind of a 1.5, a little bit of an italic in it. see the line variation is just on these stubs. That's why I fell in love with them right from the outset. I've discovered the fine nib, as I've mentioned to you, but I can still see, though, and appreciate why I was so obsessed with stub nibs. Just makes your handwriting look so much prettier. Here we go. So that completes the swatching, the writing samples. What I think I want to do is go off camera, let this dry up a little bit more, and then we'll take a look at how the paper has performed on both sides. Take a look to see if there's some shading, some sheening, and conclude the swatching. Be right back. Okay, we're back. There's still some drying on the Tomoe River, and that's typical. But as you can see, on the Tomoe River, both in the, for the black, just a little tint of brown to make that ink a little grayer than this dark saturated black, which gives it a nice, I think, a very nice touch. Can you see that? I think so. With the blue, there is a hint of sheening, not much. You can certainly see it in the handwriting with the dip pen, and you can see it a little bit on the swatching there. On the actual writing, very little sheening. I don't see that, not in that medium diplomat anyway. For the green, you see some shades of yellow there. I guess it just to make the ink a little lighter. Again, you can see the shading between the yellow and the green in the thicker line, but the italic stub, the green is pretty straight up green there. Okay, that's with the Tomoe River, and of course Tomoe River in the back. You don't get any feathering, you don't get any blotching on the other side, but you do see some ghosting. That's, and don't forget, this is a 52 gram paper, so it's much thinner than the other two. On this Life, let's just see how the Life performs. Now, it is a yellow, kind of beigeish coated paper, so that could, make things a little bit different. But again, the black is a little bit darker, I find, on this yellow beige paper, and that perhaps explains why. But otherwise, a little bit of sheening there. You see that? Just a slight. On the blue, there's a little bit, but not much of a red sheen. Even less. I don't see it as much as I see it in the Tomoe River paper. I get some interesting shading with the green. The green appears to be a little bit lighter here again, just probably because of the beige background on this paper. In terms of how the paper reacts on the other side, very little ghosting, there's no feathering, and there's no blotching at all. Excellent paper. Now, keep in mind that this is a much thicker paper, but it's got some coat, so less tooth than this Fabiano, as we shall see in a second. The Fabiano dries up really quick, I've got to tell you. The ink appears much straighter up. You don't see any fancy sheening at all. None at all. A little bit of yellow shading there in the green, but very little. So the Fabiano paper will give you a kind of a straight up sort of a conclusion with a little more tooth. But again, oh no, there's a little bit of botching here, but it's really on the swatch. Very, very little, a little bit there and a little bit there on the handwriting with the dip pen. But with normal pen, you don't see anything. Just you see even less ghosting than on the Tomoe River. So again, this is a paper I think that's fountain pen friendly, and if you're looking for some a paper that has a little more tooth, kind of Midori-like, this Fabriano is a nice alternative. So there you have the swatching of these inks. Hope you appreciate that. Gives you kind of a perspective. And that concludes this segment. Stay tuned for the next one. Okay, so we're back. I'm going to do the paper segment now. I purchased a notebook that I've been meaning to test for a while now, and just never came around to it, and finally did. Ordered it and received it this week. And let me go to my overhead camera and I'll show you which one we're talking about. I can never pronounce this, but the Luctrum or Lucturum 1917. But it's the 120 gram paper. A nice A5 size notebook. This is the original 1917. Now, I never liked this paper because I don't believe it's fountain pen friendly, or not as much as people may think it is. I know it's a very popular notebook, but for fountain pens, there are other alternatives. I would shy away from this normal 1917, and it's not as bad as Moleskine, but it's almost, at least the regular one. So I was curious to see how this new and improved 120 gram would perform with fountain pens. So I'm going to be doing a detailed review. So far, I can tell you the notebook appears to be very good quality. That's never been a problem with this brand. There's kind of a date up there that you can add. So you can use, obviously, as a journal. As these, which are very nice, the kind of dividers. You got two of them. It's hardcover. The pen, yeah, I mean, the notebook doesn't open up as nicely as some others do, but it's really a function of the fact that the paper is 120 grams, so, much thicker. How many sheets does it have? Does it say? Does not appear to say how many there are in there. But in my detailed review, I will get that information. Oh, 203 pages. There you have it. And this is compared to this. This is an old notebook. I don't think I ever ended up using it very often. But we'll kind of, what we're going to do is we're going to do a kind of a comparison between the standard 1917 and the 120 gram. I forget how many grams this is. It may be indicated somewhere, but when I do my review, you'll have all that information. And maybe I'm being just unfair to this paper, but we'll take a closer look at it, and when we do our review, and we'll compare the two, and I will give you my verdict. And maybe this one has kind of finally come through. So that's my purchase for the paper. And stay tuned for my detailed review of this paper, which will be coming up very, very soon. Probably be doing it this week or next week, and then publishing it sometime after that. So that's it for my paper haul. Finish this segment. We'll come back with the next one. Okay. Last segment, YouTube reviews. What have I got for you? Well, in terms of other reviewers, take a look at Hemingway Jones. This last, I think it came out last Thursday. This last episode that he, published on the Mont Blanc pen, 80 days around the world, or 80. I forget. Is it 80 days? Forget. Anyway, he goes through the whole spiel and the background, and he actually sat down and read the book. He had never read the book. And he points out that there's a major flaw in the Mont Blanc pen. I won't reveal the secret. So take a look at that video. But there's a couple of very emotional moments. But he, all the B-roll he's got. He looks at the book. He looks at the films that have kind of been inspired by that book by Jules Verne. Very, very good. It's typical Hemingway Jones this week. So well recommended. Wet pens. My friend Matthew has come up with a video where he actually looks at two Chinese nibs, a Pen BBS, Chinese gold nibs. He takes a look at the Pen BBS 14 karat calligraphy nib, number 4, and he takes a look at this Wing Sung that I've been wondering all along whether or not it's worth the purchase. I was thinking about buying either the Wing Sung, just a nib, the gold nibs, separately to put them into my pens, or whether I should buy, there's this beautiful ebonite pen that Matthew reviews. He bought both because I think at the end of the day, the nib may not be worth the $250, but certainly the pen is. So take a look at that if you're interested, if you've been wondering whether or not it would be worthwhile purchasing Chinese gold nibs. Well, you've got two there have been reviewed by Matthew. Then I've got Fontaine de Plume and Chris Rapp, as I mentioned, both reviewed the M2 Hongdian M2 brass. So those are two videos for you to take a look at if you're interested. Then finally, I've got this video from ASMR. Wonderful video. What the reviewer does is reviews a series of flex nibs by just, doing some doodling with each nib with some background music. Doesn't speak, but they say that images are worth 1,000 words. I forget what the expression is. It's fabulous. I think it's very therapeutic. It's the definition of fountain pen therapy, folks. I mean, he takes every flex pen and draws lines and shows the flex in it, with a macro shot and one pen at a time, and goes through all a series of pens with some background music. Very relaxing, very informative, but visually you could see whether or not which pen has the best flex. And if you're interested in procuring any flex nibs, well recommended video. So a fun video to watch. In terms of the fountain pen therapy studios, what have we got for you? Well, we have last week's recap, which reviewed several very interesting things. Here's a shot of the thumbnail. Okay, we've got, of course, my first Montegrappa, where I reviewed that pen this week that's been published. And what's up for next week? I haven't quite decided, apart from this recap, what I'm going to be publishing. It's either I've got a video comparing Tomo River to a series of 7 different types of paper, and I'm not quite decided whether or not I'm going to include that in my recap, split it in 2, or whether I'm going to publish the video. So that may very well be one of them. The next one will be this Cypress pen that I would like to publish as well. Maybe I'll go with that this week. And I'm working on a review, by the way. I've decided, because I'm getting a lot of questions about Hongdian pens and which ones I prefer, etc., etc. So I think I'm going to do a review where I'm going to review my entire Hongdian collection and show the differences in the nibs, the different series of pens, the A series, the N series, etc., the older pens, the newer pens, the new feeds, the older feeds, and maybe do a comparison with some writing samples. So stay tuned for that. That's something that's a work in progress. I think it would be a lot of fun for me to do that video, and hopefully informative for many of you. And you'll have all the Hongdian pens there, and anybody interested in buying Hongdian pens and wondering how, rather than seeing a series of videos, detailed videos, which I've reviewed them all, but if you want to just a quick look at each one, maybe I might be doing that. stay tuned for that. I'll let you know if it gets done. So there you have it, folks, for YouTube reviews. Well, that's it for this recap. Hopefully I provided enough variety, enough fun there for you folks to have been entertained this week. There you have it. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. I've got another very hectic week coming up. So the chances are that next weekend I will need more fountain pen therapy as this week. But you know, it's all good. It's all good. It's all part of the course, as they say. So thank you very much for joining me. Grazie molto. Enjoy your pens. If you have not subscribed, please do. If you have any comments, love to hear from you. Try to get back to you as much as I can. I know I'm really working hard these days, so I may not be getting back to you as quick as I would want, but be patient. Eventually I will respond. Take care of yourself, folks. Have a great week.